iYC. We just ended iYC a couple of weeks ago, and of course, it was phenomenal. We first of all want to thank Marcus Rodriguez and Calvary Baptist Church for all their hard work. Being that they had just been bombarded with a hailstorm, they were able to work diligently to make it happen, being that it was so close to the event, and it would be very difficult to have rescheduled or put it at another venue. So once again, Calvary Baptist Church and Marcus Rodriguez, thank you so much for all of your hard work.
All right, iYC, I heard, was a really great event this year. Lots of good things happening there, and super excited. And so just as a reminder, we just want everyone to know, we just want to continue the conversation. That's our goal is these podcasts, just continue the conversation of iYC and just to continue to encourage and just share how we can just sharpen our skills to grow as ministers in Christ.
Absolutely, and I like the way you look at it and your approach to this, Josh, is continue the conversation. But the conversation isn't between me and you, it's between us and you guys that are out there listening, all the people that attended iYC. And even if you're a youth minister, youth worker, youth volunteer in any capacity, we want to converse with you. We want to be able to help you with anything that you are struggling with. Maybe you've got a question about this. Maybe you got a question about that. You know, put it up on our Facebook page, and hey, let's all interact about that. Maybe you've struggled with that also, and something worked for you. Well, you know, what worked for you may work for you, but what worked for me may not work for you. And that's why we want to continue the conversation.
Exactly, and as the iYC group page, and we went with the group page because everyone can actually use that as a way to network and discuss with each other and just put up questions. So it's not only just me and Joe here doing our conversation with you guys, but it's everyone being involved. And I think that's really important because you talked about kind of like an informal session at iYC of networking. Now, let me just, before we get into that, what were your thoughts on iYC this year? How did you think it went?
You know, honestly, I think iYC went phenomenal because of the fact, as I mentioned just a little while ago, the heartaches that Calvary went through, but yet we're still able to just work through whatever difficulty you're having to host the event because they had committed to it. And people, when they commit, it's real hard to decommit. And believe you me, I would have really understood if they had decommitted, but they said, no, we are in this wholeheartedly. We want to get this done. And you were talking about networking and all that. But more importantly, what I'd like to say is, iYC happens once a year, and you're able to network while you're at iYC. But What do you do in between? It kind of goes back to what we have in the Valley, which is our styling network, which we put on every 3 months. And what do you do in between? Well, you've got to be able to connect with people. So that way, when you connect, you can converse. Because networking doesn't bring those networking brings those connections together, in which we're able to have these conversations, in which we're able to work out different dilemmas that we are going through. Because a person who works at Starbucks doesn't know what a youth minister is going through. Exactly. The only thing that another youth minister is going to be able to understand is what other youth ministers go through. And that is why it's so important for us to connect. And because of the fact that Calvary did have those situations that they went through, we had to shuffle some of the classrooms around, and my seminar actually got canceled. So what we did do is we conducted an informal seminar in the gymnasium, and I had several people come to it, and we held it right after lunch. And I was able to talk to people about connecting, because the networkers are great, but what do you do in between? What can you learn from networking? Well, what you need to learn is how to connect, because it isn't until you begin to formulate those connections that you will be able to have those conversations in which you'll be able to grow.
Exactly. And, you know, I'm part of just a networking system here in Corpus Christi, and, you know, to me, if you're not networking, you're just missing out, period. I mean, that is a great way to just join and jump in and connect. And I mean, I hope that in a future show we can really dig in a little bit deeper about networking, how it looks like, because, you know, it's more than just, hey, let's get together and have a conversation. Even though that's the really awesome part, is that you just build really great relationships. We kind of need to know what's the goal, what's the purpose, how can we come in as a group and just use our resources to just grow, and maybe what some type of problems that we might face just coming to work together and stuff like that. And so I just think that's just a really awesome thing. And I mean, you just really hit it on the head, just on why we should network and why it's important.
Absolutely. And going back to what you just mentioned, next time we do talk about this, I've got a great short story to share with you on one of the things that we were able to do during that informal seminar that we held at iYC. But, you know, enough with us. Why don't we talk to some people that actually went to iYC, maybe some of the people that actually taught some of the seminars, and get their take on it.
I totally agree. All right, let's do that.
Let's do that. Let's start off with one of our professors here at SCS. Let's start off with Justin Horton.
All right, let's go talk to him.
All right, let's do that. Well, we find ourselves here with Justin Horton. Justin Horton is a professor here at the South Texas School of Christian Studies. And Professor Horton, this is your second time teaching at iYC. Give us a little bit about your experience teaching at iYC.
Yeah, this year it was great. We were down in the valley, as you know, this year for the first time. I thought it was a good turnout for our first event in the valley. Had a lot of different people than we had last year, so that was really fun. For myself, I got to teach in an area that I'm really passionate about, discipleship within youth ministry. And what I really focused on is the discipline behind discipleship. And so really for my lesson, we focused on three what I would call essential spiritual disciplines for youth ministry. Those being community, simplicity, and prayer. And so it was really good to interact with the group that came down to kind of maybe have them look at discipleship in a different manner with these disciplines as a core.
Absolutely. And speaking about the group, share with us a little bit about what the feedback from the group, maybe some interesting comments they made, maybe some suggestions or questions that they brought up.
Yeah, I was really impressed at the size of the groups. Usually the breakout sessions tend to be smaller, but the groups this year were quite large, 20 plus in attendance, which created some good dialogue back and forth. I found it interesting. There wasn't as many questions directed towards me as just discussion within the group themselves. Really, especially on the community aspect and the need for community, really in youth ministry and what that looks like, what that could look like. With churches working together, which was really encouraging. That's a real passion of mine, is to break out of our own kind of kingdom mentality and get a kingdom mentality.
Absolutely.
And so I was really impressed that the ministers and youth workers that were there were talking that, how they could interact within themselves in the community.
And iYC is basically formulated around that for us to see the bigger picture as opposed to just our kingdom. Look at God's kingdom, absolutely. And being that you are a professor at the South Texas School of Christian Studies, explain to us or share with us a little bit about the importance of theological education.
Yeah, I personally teach theology, so I place a high level of importance on theological education. And I say it like this, a lot of people think I'm joking, but I tend to say this, we're all theologians, first of all. Everyone's a theologian. Just not all theologians are created equal. So there's some bad theology out there. And so that's why I think it's important, especially as ministers or those of us working with youth. We're shaping the ideas and the minds of young people. So it's good to have an idea of what type of theology, good theology, is about. And that's why we here at the South Texas School of Christian Studies really promote and try to and really value theological education.
Well, thank you so much, Justin, for being part of our video today. Appreciate you sharing some time with us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm here with Lewis. Lewis, why don't you hold up your iPad real quick? Lewis was at iYC, and he won the new iPad. He is our iPad winner, and we are super excited that you got to do that. Now,
I got excited.
Yeah, I bet you did get excited. Just won like a $500 machine, but this is true. We did actually give away an iPad. This is very important stuff. So to come to iYC next year, iPad. Anyways, Lewis, let me just ask you real quick. Just tell me about just a small bit about yourself, where you work at in ministry, and just why you love students. Just run with that.
I've been working in student ministry for about 3 years already, and it's really been a great blessing, working in the lives of students. There's so much need. They're fighting against the trends. They're fighting against the currents of this world, and it's a great privilege to be able to be there for them.
Yeah, and I understand you do bivocational student ministry, right? So you are not only are you having to just do school, because Lewis is a student here, and work full time. You're also doing this bivocationally too, and so that is a very hard, and that is just amazing that you're able to do those things. And so I guess iYC is really just something that for guys like you who are doing bivocational and you have so many other commitments, this is something that you can come to and just really learn something. And so let me ask you this question: what stood out to you? What breakout session stood out to you at iYC?
The one breakout session that really that I was able to learn a lot from was the volunteerism.
Okay, why did volunteerism stand out to you?
Reason for that is because a lot of times parents in our churches today, they have that mentality that the youth minister is their babysitter. And these days we struggle so much to get parents involved in the lives of their own children. And I think it's a great way to be able to see many aspects that we lack in the ministry on how to get them involved, and also to acknowledge the fact that us as ministers, we can't do everything on our own, and we actually need help.
All right. So how are you taking what you learned at volunteerism and just trying to apply it into your ministry? I know iYC was only like a few weeks ago, but I know there's going to be some time where you start learning and start putting it in. So how did you take volunteerism and how are you going to try to put it into your ministry context?
Well, trying to get parents involved, like letting them know that, these are your kids, these are souls in the line, encourage them, also appreciate them, appreciate their time, appreciate their work, and just letting them know that, the role that I play or the role that they play is just as important as the role that
Exactly.
I take.
And parents are, they are the spiritual formation leaders of our students. Okay, they are the number one influence in their lives. And sometimes I think student ministers, we're weary of getting parents involved, or we want to there needs to be separation between parents and students, or the student doesn't want there. But the truth is that our youth parents are our number one source for volunteers, and we need to be willing to get in there and get those parents involved, because in the end, it's what's best for their children, because they're the number one influence.
Yeah, and it's important because these students don't live with me.
Exactly.
They don't live with us.
Yeah.
They live with them, and there's no better influence than having their parents, be their, mentors.
Exactly. I totally agree with that. That is just awesome stuff. I'm so glad that you were able to go to iYC and be able to just go to the volunteerism, because I know I did bivocational student ministry, and that was just really hard to just be able to get volunteers. And just that number one source is the parents that's happening there. And so let me ask you this, Lewis. For the guy who didn't make it to iYC, and for anyone who is thinking about iYC, why should someone go to iYC?
Well, for the guy that didn't go to iYC, they missed out.
They missed out.
They missed out. I mean, it's really a great blessing to be able to have these conferences, from people who have the credibility, to teach us such things, new ways to improve our ministry, improve our ways of doing ministry. And I feel they really missed out because, we don't know all the answers.
Right.
We don't know all the answers, and we're always in need of help.
Exactly. All right, so you'd say, hey, to go to iYC next year, you should go, because it's just a great source to just get some encouragement, to be able to just learn something, even if it's something you already know, because we already know volunteerism is something necessary, but sometimes we just need to be able to sharpen that skill a little bit. And so, for the guy who didn't make it, they should come because it just sharpens them as a minister, right?
Of course. And not only that, you get a chance to win an iPad like I did.
Yeah, you could be Lewis next year and win an iPad. So, Lewis, I just want to say thank you for just sitting down with us and just talking about iYC and just how you learned from it and just showing off your amazing new iPad that you got.
That's
all right?
awesome.
All right,
That's
thank you, man.
All right.
Well, we want to thank you guys for tuning into our iYC video cast this month, and we hope that you follow through with sending us some suggestions and or questions on how we can help you in your youth ministry.
Exactly. And me and Joe look forward to just being able to just bring more videos, more just ideas, more suggestions, and more just ways to just help you guys grow in your student
Shining in the light.